it's so cool that we get to do that.
Yeah, you just say
And I
have
told my
competition.
husband, because we just got home
we're
from
big
Washington,
Olive
we
Garden
drove up like through Oregon and Washington.
I fell through one time.
Oh,
As easy,
I
took
said, you
one
know,
bite
we're
of
gonna
it.
have to have
It sure is.
I didn't like it, like, you couldn't even taste it, it tastes hot.
Oh, it
But
was so
he was
hot.
like, I
It
don't
just
know
makes
what
your
one
mouth
of
numb
those
and you just
was.
ate
And I
it.
said, because we've always
Oh, I
liked
used
to
to
like
eat that quite a bit.
something
I wouldn't
that,
now.
you know, you get
Not me.
to
Yeah.
take it out.
Oh, my brother.
Could
But
be
we
able
can't
to
wait till we can do like.
Call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the September minutes. Everybody had a chance to go through them. And if there's no changes or additions, need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Unfinished business, 5-year master plan.
We'll turn it over to Deb. Yep.
Hello. So you have all received, I believe, an electronic version of the draft, which you can peruse at your leisure. Don't read it too close, you may fall asleep. It's such exciting stuff. But it really is a recap of all the things that we've talked about in the last several presentations. So those are all the sections, and really, we've gone into pretty great detail along the whole way. Really, the draft is just the formal, actual putting all together in a written document. So, and the one thing I realized as I was trying to think of what are maybe some of the loose ends as I was going back and kind of rewriting some of the things actually into the plan that we've talked about in the presentations. And I realized there were just a handful of things that I should have probably said to you that might be good for you guys just to ponder, and staff and I have talked about them a little bit. One of them was that this master plan was really an update, and I think that the community and public participation really played out that, people are really excited and thankful for everything that's been done in the parks, and to a certain degree, it's keep on doing what you're doing. And I don't know if I really actually said that other than it is a common theme that has been from the very first person I talked to the last person I've talked to, whether it was pop-up conversations in the park or through actually the survey and the quote. And then as I was writing and we were talking about trends, I realized one of the trends that I did not really specifically talk about, and it relates a little bit more to programming, was really everything has gone so online, obviously because of the pandemic, et cetera. But one of the things that we've talked about internally with staff was just programming and trying to meet the needs of the youth and the teenagers and different kinds of programming. And the gaming and the esports has become such a huge industry. And how does it's become a much more huge trend. I mean, to the degree that I just read an article that came out 2 weeks ago that I actually referenced in the trends section of the report, but it talks about that they thought that e-gaming was probably a $1.5 billion industry, and in reality it's probably a $2.5 billion industry in 2022, and that's the enormity of that is the age groups that it spans. And what's I think really interesting, when we talked about demographics, the two most growing demographics in Warsaw, when you looked at them in comparison from county to city, was 18 to 24 and 24 to 34, which is also the same demographic that is the typical gaming user from 18 to 34. So although we talk about programming as it relates to all the other different things, and you're trying to get people outdoors and physically exercising and moving, one of the most important statistics that we talked about in the report, and I'm just kind of recapping here, is that almost 85% of kids today, 13 and over, already have a gaming device. And it is a habit that they pick up, and it becomes a lifelong hobby. And for some kids, especially those that may be physically challenged or have no desire to do sports, they feel left out. And so one of the things that parks departments have really been exploring is just opportunities to create a sense of community and socially coming together to play gaming. And then eventually, some of them have taken it obviously to much bigger. They're hosting tournaments and they have all kinds of indoor space, and they're building facilities just to team and partner to provide gaming for both younger and older, because it's a multi-generational thing. It's people watching the people playing gaming, and the event of mobile devices and streaming online. But the impact of that, and what has been so positive, is that it's allowing you to bring in these kids at an earlier place and time, and it allows them to be involved in the park system, which then allows them to experience this really great experience within the parks, and then they start to explore other activities and things that you offer that they might not have necessarily come and experienced. And I realized that although I wrote that into the report, I hadn't really talked about that as part of the previous presentation, and I really felt that was important. So I wanted to highlight that. And then just again, those were kind of the main priorities that came out of, and anytime I do any kind of presentation as I'm wrapping up a master plan, I want to make sure that, just continuing to maintain and update your existing facilities, and the staff is, the playgrounds you've been upgrading and all those things, you're already doing all these things, but it was just the reminder that the skate park and eventually the new greenhouse and all those different things that people have come to enjoy, and the multi-generational side of it, and trails and walking paths will continue. And then one of the things that Diane had asked about in the last one was when we talked about, I didn't have these maps done yet. I realized that as I was driving back that night. So one of the things that we do is we say, okay, here is roughly a radius of the community that you're reaching with activities. So each size of parks have a different kind of zone that the National Park System says that a certain walking radius, and that has a radius that you can put around each of your parks. And in the world that I operate in, schools a lot of times, they're outdoor green spaces or playgrounds, or the high school also serve as recreation. So we put that service bubble out there so we can take an inventory of where we are. But why that's so important is because then when you flip to the next side, and this goes really straight to the parkland deficiencies and where to look for park land acquisition in the future within the city limits, this map shows you those solid green areas are areas within the city limits that don't have a park. And I thought that spoke directly to Diane's question, so I wanted to make sure to point that out tonight.
Yeah, that's great.
So, and that just allows you to see that there's opportunity for growth in the north. We'd already heard some about that on the east and southwest, just inside the city limits. And then, of course, trails and sidewalks to connect them are, and we highlighted that again in the report, but those were the two things that I really thought that I needed to highlight just in relationship to the actual draft itself. But other than that, you have the draft and you'll have an opportunity to review that. We've submitted it to DNR for them to review, and they always have a few questions or something that we need to tweak. So, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to see that, and certainly if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me tonight or forward them to Larry, and he can get them to me, and we can make sure that Larry and I found a couple things we knew we needed to tweak, which is always the case. And if you see a typo, you're never going to hurt my feelings. I look at it way too much. So I have a friend who edits, and she's going back to look at it one more time, but I told her not to touch anything because I knew Larry would be my second set of eyes. So with that, though, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Any questions? Okay,
All right, well, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
Okay, on to new business. Bixler Park Courts naming.
Yes, when I went down to the K-21 Health Foundation to sign the grant paperwork for the courts at Bixler Park, Rich and Holly had asked me what the possibilities were, or if there would be any interest on our part to name the courts K-21 courts. He said, I know you just went through some of this at Kelly Park, but it is a little bit different situation. This is a monetary contribution to the projects. Between the two, K-21 has given almost $85,000 to the project. So I don't know if you've all had a chance to read Rich's letter here. I thought that explained it very well. And he told me that day, he said it's not a deal breaker whatsoever to do that, but he said it would really help K-21's mission to have this in the public and have it seen, and so we can do future projects within our community, and people know what we're doing with our foundation and our funds. So with that, I'll just let the board having discussion on it.
Let's hear it.
Are you anticipating this is going to upset people?
No, I don't think it'll upset people at all. It's kind of like the Glover Pavilion. We did the Glover Pavilion at Central Park because they gave a monetary contribution. We did the Castaldi Fountain at the Buffalo Street Project. I think this is very similar. It's a foundation as opposed to an individual, but I think the end result's the same.
We have a sign, or of course, we have the Metzger plaque
Yes.
at Kelly Park. We have the sign recognizing the Dane and Mary Louise Foundation, I believe, for their work with the pickleball courts. No, I think it's
two different things, like you're saying, Larry, because we recognize K-21 and the Dr. Dane and Mary Louise Foundation with signs out there because they were the funds for the project. Whereas Mike himself wasn't a monetary donor to that. He was just kind of the guy in the community that really tried to pick up pickleball and get it going in our community. So that's the difference to me.
we certainly recognize that.
Yes, absolutely.
With that.
Absolutely.
I think K-21 has been very supportive of the park system.
To the point where they were willing to go back to the ice rink, even at that point, which at that point we didn't feel fit into our plan. But gosh, I certainly don't have any problems in supporting a sign, plaque, whatever maybe you and Rich could come up with.
Yeah, he talked about it just as simple as, just having a sign up there saying K-21 courts. I mean, it's just that simple, but, I told him I would gladly bring it to the board.
And I don't think they'd be upset there. How many courts are we gonna build there?
There'll be 4 pickleball courts and
So
2
they're getting
tennis
4
courts.
new courts out of it, which is one of the things they've really been after. So,
Yes.
It was interesting, too. Just a week ago, I got a call, and Suzanne forwarded a message to me, and it was somebody that plays tennis at the Bixler courts, and they were bringing it to my attention that there were cracks in the courts finally. After 20-some years, the glass grid is finally cracked, and wanted to know if we were going to do any maintenance or had any plans for this court.
yeah.
And so I was thankful to tell him that we've got this grant, and they're going to happen. So it was perfect timing.
Every night when I've driven by there recently, there have been people playing tennis every evening.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Now that it's cooled off a little bit and they won't melt by running around on the court. Yeah, I'm supportive of giving them naming rights to that, since they're funding so much of that and they're such a strong supporter of the park system. Do you need a motion?
Is that a
Yes.
motion?
Yes, please.
I would make a motion that we name the pickleball courts after the K-21, give them the naming rights for that particular project. And
We have a motion to name them. Do we have a second?
Oh, would it just be the name of the pickleball courts, or?
It would be the whole course.
Probably the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it is a complete project, so it's all fenced in one fenced-in area, the 4 courts and the 2 courts, so we would just put it on the east side facing 15. It would just say K-21 courts or something to that effect, yeah.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to name the new courts the K-21 courts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next thing up, recreation report.
Well, I have some exciting news. We've had a great month on the rec side of things.
So we had our Fall Family Fun event. We had over 400 participants. I'm sure there were more. It was hard to count. Lots of smiling faces, happy kids. We put some games out and we added some photo backdrops this year. And even Larry commented, like, everyone's playing some games and they're, getting their picture taken. Just trying to help, those lines that we had to keep everyone safe and not too many people in the buildings. The colorful ceramics are completely sold out. We had some families today even ask, can we start doing this more often for $5? My kids love these. We had our first Fall Imagination Station yesterday. It was take-home kits. We had 50 kits. We have 3 of those left. So another huge success with that. A lot of families have come to love that program. So a great report. And next month we will be having Paint in the Park class, and we already have people signed up for that. So.
Okay, any questions?
I saw it on Facebook today that you had, a couple kids left over that people could come and get.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's getting out there and.
It is, it is. And then in that kit, it told the information to pick up the next kit. So what day and time. So we're really trying to advertise that. We also sent flyers home with families at Fall Family Fun so they could see the upcoming programs that we had. So 400 people got a flyer to advertise those programs. So
Well, that's great, because that's your audience.
it is,
Yeah.
it is. So something they can put on their refrigerator and, go back to that. Facebook has been great. A lot of people are finding information there, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Maintenance report.
Yeah, so we have the campgrounds completely winterized. We brought in the courtesy piers and stored them. We've blown out the water lines. Once we got everything closed down out there, we began improvements on the last row that we've yet to improve out there, which is the B row, the same row that the campground manager stays on. We made our sewer line repairs, and we're also raising the grade to crown it a little bit in the middle to get drainage to where the storm drains are. We've got most of our grade work done. Today we were putting in millings, asphalt millings for the parking pads. I'd like to thank the street department for providing those for us. Tomorrow we're going to be pouring concrete for the campground manager's spot. And hopefully by the end of the week, we're planting grass seed and straw, and maybe you can get some grass growing this fall yet. Like I said, that'll be the last row out there. We've done all the other rows, so it'll be nice to have it off our back finally. We also began the work at Byer Park. We removed the playground structures there. We have quite a bit of filling to do inside there. And we also have to set all of our timbers. But we got started on it and then it rained for like a week straight. So we're kind of letting that dry out before we get back in there. Hopefully also within a week or so, we'll be able to get that wrapped up for the off season. We've pulled most of the picnic tables and benches out of the parks in preparation for winter refurbishment. And we've also blown out almost all of the outdoor restroom and drinking fountains in the park system. We have our irrigation systems left to blow out. And we have a couple restrooms like at Fribley Field and Higher Park where they still have events going that we'll blow out after they're done. I think that's about it.
Okay.
I'll add to that a little bit. One other project we're doing at the campgrounds. In past years, we've had some electrical issues above head. We had this spring, we've had a couple of instances where the lines are actually on fire because there's split bolts up there. So we had NIPSCO come and connect those lines without using split bolts. But in that conversation, we've never been able to shut the power off without NIPSCO. So what we're doing is we just ordered all the stuff today. Hopefully we'll get it in time for next year. I mean, that's the battle. The wire is the battle, but we're gonna set individual meters for each row on a buckboard, and then each row will be fed, and we'll have the ability to shut each row off independently. That's something that we've never had, and Larry, you can attest that that's something that's very important. We've just never had that ability, and I just think it's time to do that. So we've ordered the material. Our electrician has it all planned out, and we just went to G&G today and got a telephone pole so we can use our own pole to go back up with, because NIPSCO didn't want us to use their pole. So we've got everything coming except for some of the THHN wire. They're just not sure when they can get it. So worst case scenario, we get all of our equipment and we get everything installed, it's ready to go, and when we get that wire, we can throw the power and spend a day and wire it up and then be ready to go. So it's just something we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we had the opportunity this year with some funds, so we're going to do that. So
Yeah, I'm real excited about this because it's really inconvenient to have to call NIPSCO and be, at their disposal on timing to shut the power down to be able to work on something, especially when it's not an emergency. They're not in a real big hurry usually to come. So it'll be real nice to be able to kill our own power without calling them.
Sean, I just got an email today. Somebody wanted to know how long the DNR piers will still be in.
I have no idea.
So it's up to them?
Yeah, and
So
they just-
probably on the first, when they
Yeah.
pull boards, they might pull those.
They just randomly show up and pull them, and we see
Okay.
that happen. Also, we did replace several boards on the boardwalk in
Oh,
response to your
awesome.
email the other day.
Yeah.
I think there was 10 total that we got, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did we add more campsites when we finished up the fireman's building and put in the fencing? Did we talk about putting another row of?
that's something that's in our plan, is to extend the campgrounds. I've actually talked to Dustin from the street department about possibly doing some of that work in-house to see what kind of funds we need to make that accomplishable. But it's definitely on our radar, and that was our plan all along, is to extend that along the lake there. So we've got to do some drawings and then see what we can do in-house, and
So
Just see-
probably
just
not this
with it.
coming camp season, be
no,
ready, but,
no,
okay.
yeah, it could be 2-3 years down the road, yeah, yep. Yep.
Anything else? Okay. Other matters?
I don't have anything, Steve.
I
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
Suzanne is working on our annual holiday dinner. She kind of updated us a little bit, waiting on quotes from people. But I asked this year that we invite the campground managers too. They're great people, and I think, and I thought about even Dan from
Dan Ruppel, yeah.
from Higher Park. I hate to think how many hours he spends down there, and that's all volunteer. And he does, if anything, he puts money into it. So if nobody minds, we'll have 3 extra people this year. Okay,
Do we have a date yet?
we have a date?
We do. I believe it was the Tuesday that was in the poll, which would be the 7th. So Tuesday, December 7th from 11:30 to 12:30 is what was decided.
Say that again, I'm sorry, December 7th from,
11:30 to 12:30.
At the fireman's building?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
I agree.
sounds like a good deal. There's not much to review because this was a short meeting. Pretty easy. I haven't forgotten anything
I
yet.
appreciate you guys doing that meal every year, though.
Yeah.
You don't know how much that means to our employees. They really like that. They look forward to it, so that's great.
it's such a small thing to do for everything, to say thank you for everything that they do. So,
We have a good group.
we do.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of here.
Thank you.
I forgot.
Not turning off.
Yep.
I wanted to play and kept you.
Okay, maybe if I just close it.
Wait, his head's like right here, and I'm like.
That's how my house works, you just close it.
That's all good.
Even if I